Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have...
Nice meeting you as well. Thank you for the invitation.
No, thank you for coming. So Mike from Ray John, told me all these good things about the Alchemist Accelerator.
My educational background is I'm an engineer from Stanford with a bachelor's and a master's degree, and I have an MBA from Harvard. But I worked at two startups. Both were funded by Kleiner Perkins. One raised $100 million and was a failure, but I learned a lot. Vinod Khosla and all the famous people were involved with that. That was a company called Zaplet. And it was almost very much the equivalent of many of the unicorn types of companies we're seeing today. This was, though, in the 2000 to 2000, when I was at Stanford, called Extensity, which ended up going public and was doing very unsexy stuff. They were doing operational cost management, like expense reports and things like that.
Okay.
Both of them were enterprise focused. I also worked at McKinsey in strategy consulting, but the bulk of my career was at DFJ. So I was a venture capitalist at DFJ for 6 years. I was the lead who sourced the investments in Justin TV, which became Twitch. So that was acquired for $970 million, and then I also funded a company called Pubmatic, where I was the first money in. That company is now doing north of $150 million in revenue. So those are my two unicorn investments that I did at DFJ. Alchemist is a venture-backed accelerator.
Okay.
Our investors, the people who funded us, are many of the VC funds on Sand Hill Road, like DFJ, Khosla Ventures, Mayfield Foundation, USVP, and then we have a bunch of big enterprise tech companies, Cisco, Salesforce, SAP, and others.
How did you go to?
Well, the way it happened was that when I was at DFJ, there was an entrepreneurship education event series called the Alchemist Series. And that was actually out of Harvard. It was the Harvard Club initiative that was about teaching Harvard alums how to be entrepreneurs. It spun out of the Harvard Club and ended up serving a bunch of the Ivy League alumni associations. I also simultaneously am on the faculty at Stanford. I teach entrepreneurship in the engineering school. I teach an intro entrepreneurship class.
I saw that. That's great.
And it's fantastic. It's a joy to teach, and it's a privilege. But I love teaching. I love educating. And what happened was, through the Alchemist series, we did this 6-part event on just like a toolkit on the basics of starting up a company. We didn't think about it as an accelerator. We just thought about it as a class. We got all these phenomenal enterprise founders that came to that class, and we were asking them, why are you coming to this 6-part education series? And these guys were VPs at Oracle and at Salesforce and just phenomenal people. And they said, well, we're starting up a company. We don't need to raise $5 million from a venture capitalist. And frankly, all the accelerators, Y Combinator, 500 startups, etc., are all very consumer focused. So that's why they came to that. And that was the light bulb moment where we said, oh, there is this opportunity where there are all these founders that are not being served. And can we, if we were not encumbered by history, could we create a program that was designed for the enterprise founder, the founder that was monetizing from enterprise startups? Or from enterprises, and so then that was the birth of Alchemist. So we had this series, this entrepreneurship club had a Rolodex of 10,000 top technical young alums, and that was and then we saw this opportunity, and then the VCs seeded that opportunity. It was a similar opportunity that happened with Sequoia. Was one of the main LPs behind YC in the early days. And that was a very fruitful relationship. Dropbox, Airbnb saying, hey, can we create a space where all the top enterprise talent would go before they raised their Series A? And can we create a program that was just designed for the enterprise? It's Alchemist. And Alchemist is a different type of accelerator. It's because we only do enterprise, we're focused on companies that monetize from enterprises. Your users can be consumers, but if you make money from enterprises, it's great. And because of that, we have a longer program. It's a 6-month program. And as much as we love our VCs and we have very successful funding rates, what's even more valuable is that we have this network of customers, of Fortune 500 customers that will do proof of concepts for the companies to really catalyze. So the moment you join the program on the first day, you're going to be filling out a one-pager that gets syndicated to the customer network. They'll be brokering, we'll be brokering connections in when they want to meet with you. So all you have to do is fill out the application online.
Okay.
And the most important thing that we're looking at is the team's background.
Okay.
So we only fund teams, the team has to have a technical co-founder. We only fund technical teams, and we only fund teams that are monetizing from enterprises. What we will be looking at, if you're time strapped, just fill out the application and just put in the team's backgrounds. That's the most important thing that we're looking at. And then after that, we're looking for markets where the team has an unfair advantage and is designed to do the thing that they're doing.
Okay.
and then there's a whole host of other things that we look at behind the scenes. But those are really the two prime things. So all you really have to do is just fill out the application, and literally we have rolling. The trait that I find that the most successful entrepreneurs have, more than even intelligence, is just perseverance.
Yeah.
And so the first thing is just do it. We have 130 portfolio companies, probably over like 300 founders that are in our network. And you can look on our site, you can see all the founders that are involved. If there is anybody that you know that's connected to us, getting a referral from them is helpful. And if you're connected somehow through one of our mentors, if anybody can get connected into us, we would welcome that. So we have admitted companies literally that quit their job on Monday and then joined us on Thursday. And that's really for outstanding people or teams. So if the teams are phenomenal, then we want, and you're committed, we want to help you, and we want to help you as soon as the sooner the better. So on average, our companies that get admitted have been working on their companies for a year.
Okay.
Well, the most important thing when you're choosing the team, a co-founder is a very special relationship, as any founder does. You can hire founding employees that have a different bar than a co-founder. When you're choosing your co-founder, you need to find people that are as good in the area that you're weak as you are in the area that you're great. So the biggest mistake that people make usually with co-founders is that they think, oh, I don't like sales, I just need to hire a salesperson.
Right.
And then their bar is pretty low because they actually think that their co-founder just has to be better than me at sales. That is not the bar. The bar is that they have to be as good in the field that they're weak at, or in the field that you're weak at, as you are in the field that you're strong at. And so we want really distinctive teams. And that's hard to find because a lot of that's also chemistry and finding the right fit.
Yeah.
In general, the elements that we are looking for in terms of traits that we've seen with teams that that excel are ideally if there's a team that has worked together in the past, or you've been through some stress and the team has validated that they can survive that stress, that's nice. We love teams that have two technical co-founders flanking a business executioner, or two technical co-founders that can be double threats, that can also operate on the business side. If you're pitching a VC, if you tell the VC, I will commit full time once you fund me, you won't get funded, just to be transparent. So you need to sort of say, I'm putting my time in as skin in the game. For us, the team doesn't need to be full time when you apply.
Okay.
We want the CEO ideally to be committed and full time, but because we're the accelerator, we're usually the first step. If you get admitted to the accelerator, certainly the CEO needs to be full time, and we strongly want the team to be full-time, at least by the midway or by the time the team's graduate. Yeah.
How much traction does the company in general? You don't need any?
You don't need any.
Okay.
So
it's really idea-oriented, or?
For us, it's teams and markets. The problem with traction is that once you have traction, you have something to measure. And so the moment you have traction, everybody's going to ask, oh, what are you projecting? And then how are you doing against that? And so that's also a double-edged sword. The reality when you're fundraising is that it doesn't matter what the average of the industry thinks, because you only have room for one institutional check if you're raising from an institution. Because you can only dilute by a certain percentage. You only want to give up 20 to maybe up to 40% of your company. And the institutions need to own 20 to 40%. Because of that, the goal is not to have the average investor like you. The goal is to have enough to get one investor or two investors to lean forward, and the VCs are all competing amongst themselves because they know that if you have all the traction, there's another problem that they have, which is that you're going to have multiple term sheets, and then they're not necessarily going to get the deal, or if they get the deal, the investment is going to be at a high valuation. So we love traction, and traction's great if you have it, but if you don't have traction, in many ways, it's actually a blessing if you have an outstanding team in a big market, because the VCs will lean forward and might write a check based on the romance of the story and being scared that they're going to miss out. So you do need a great team, and you do need a great market that you want to go after. And then if you have traction, it's fantastic. We want you to go after a market where you have an unfair advantage. That's either because you are passionate about a market where others just look at that market and don't feel passion, and that's an unfair advantage because it means that you're looking at the world differently. Or because there's some insight that you have into that market. Now, what we're looking for are markets that will warrant the interest of the top funds. So we're looking for people that are going after $1 billion plus markets. Everybody talks about that, billions of dollars, right? So you should be able to pass the test that your company could not have existed 3 years ago. that there's some new technology disruption or change that is opening the window for you to exist, and you need to pass that test. So in general, when you're building your business, you should be clear about whether or not you're optimizing for growth, monetization, or engagement.
Okay.
And then think about what's needed to succeed against each of those and why you're going to win. We want to know why you're going to win, why you're going to kill in that space. And we want you to have thought that through. That could be because you have some unfair advantage around distribution. It could be because you know some space. It could be because you just have relentless passion and great people are going to work for you. But we want you to understand what your strategy is and why it's going to be difficult for somebody to copy you. Our goal is that we want the companies to get funded by the end of the program. So by month 5, we want the companies to raise capital, and our funding rates have been very high. So we're famous for our funding rates. 60% of our companies will raise capital. The average rate is 60%. 60%. So
that's huge.
We've had 61 companies in the last 2 years out of 90 have closed institutional capital, and the average is around 2.2 million. And we've had very famous funds have led rounds in our deal in our companies, including Andreessen Horowitz at Redpoint, and DFJ, NEA, and Social Capital. Those, so the founders that make it through are generally all very competent, very high caliber, and we also make bets on founders that are controversial. We've admitted everybody from 19-year-olds to 50-year-olds, and both are controversial. 19-year-olds is controversial, 50-year-olds is controversial, and so we're looking for things that are not necessarily just like checklist items. But most of our founders will make it through the program. The 10% don't. So we have around the 10% people that don't actually make it. But the bigger question is, what's the difference in the ones that end up doing great versus the ones that end up doing good? Because the thing that's going to kill you, and in some ways it's awesome to fail if you're an entrepreneur, because it's quick. At least you don't waste a lot of money and a lot of time. The worst thing is doing good and not great. Because you can do good for a long time, and you can always be like, let me just give it another 3 months or another 90 days, and then you're going to trickle through a small debt. So your task as an entrepreneur is that you have a little bit of a runway and you need to take off. And very few companies die because they have bad ideas. Almost all the ideas are good. They die because they don't take off. And so why do the great entrepreneurs take off? The biggest trait that's the difference is perseverance and just being structured about driving stuff forward. More than intelligence, more than thinking, even having like unfair connections. It's just the entrepreneurs who just persevere and are persistent is the most important trait. It's not like there's a path where you're a great entrepreneur and then suddenly you don't face the things that the good entrepreneurs face. The great entrepreneurs still face the things. They still get dinged by VCs. They have talent that joins them and then leaves. They have all these unfortunate things that are going on in their personal lives. But what they're able to do is when those things hit them, they don't faze them as much. And they focus on what they need to get, where's the opportunity. Since in entrepreneurship is that you have to be bifocal. There's so many things where you're doing 2 things at once. One of the bifocal things is that you have to know the strategy of where you're headed, and then you need to know tactically the next 3 things that you really need to get done. When you're pitching a VC, you need to paint a big picture of a big market, and then you have to show why you're going to get near-term traction. So there is this thing of being somewhat strategic. So you can't just be dumb persistent. You can't just be like, I'm just going to keep trying, and not responding to the world. You need to understand what are the important things to go after. But then within that, I think we over-dial for intelligence, and it's not necessarily about being intelligent, it's just about moving capital from us. You get around $36,000, but then you also get around several $100,000 of perks, which can be non-trivial, especially if you need cloud credit with like Amazon or anybody else. And that's helpful in me. And then there's also co-working space and things like that. But the real value for the program is the quality of the interaction. So you're going to have most of our faculty mentors, our co-coaches have built businesses worth $100 million or more.
AlchemistAccelerator.com. Thank you for taking the time.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Yes,
my pleasure.